Hello and a very good afternoon, everyone. I am Basundhara Chaudhary from Logistics Insider, and I welcome you all to yet another episode of Leaders Speak, a series of LinkedIn Live interviews where we try and get the perspective of the industry leaders who drive the market. As an integral part of the value chain, both within and across international borders, logistics firms, despite these trying times, are facilitating trade and commerce and working as a bridge between businesses and their customers. While the outbreak of the pandemic took world renowned supply chains to a backseat, their quick thinking and motivation, along with the boost in e commerce demand, helped them achieve success in this new normal. While global supply chains are still recuperating from the losses of the past year, logistics companies are doing all that they can to fill up the void that was created by the pandemic. To speak more on these lines and to have a sense of what to expect from the industry as we step into a post pandemic world, we have with us today Mr. Madhav Kurup, who is the Chief Executive Officer, Middle East and South Asia of Hellman Worldwide Logistics. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hello, Basundhara. Great to be here.
It's our pleasure to host you, Mr. Kurup. Hellman Worldwide Logistics is one of the leading international logistics providers with its very own suite of high-performance products in air, sea, and rail, and a host of other services as well. Mr. Madhav has been associated with Hellman for more than a decade now and is a revered market leader in his circuit. In today's interview, Mr. Madhav will take us into the back room of Hellman's global operations and enlighten us more about the innovations done by the company to maintain an unbroken supply chain even during these unprecedented times. Mr. Madhav, we are pleased to have you today with us.
Thank you.
So starting off, when we talk about steering the company amid this turbulence that the pandemic has brought before us, Hellman Worldwide Logistics' recent reports suggest its continuation of successful business development despite the global challenges caused by the pandemic. If you can give us a peek into the back room of Hellman's operations and the changes that the company made to help sustain profitable growth, even amidst the challenging market situations?
Yeah, thank you, Basundhara. It's a great question. Of course, the COVID-19 crisis hit all of us totally unprecedented, and we are no different. To facing the challenges, and then how we as a company were ready to face such challenges. But something which in the Hellman world, what happened is that already before the Corona crisis, we set the course for growth and positioned the group strategically and very strongly. We were well positioned to cope well during the pandemic alongside our strategic course set. The decisive factor for the positive development was undoubtedly our global team, our global employees, which, as per our company's DNA, we call it first people first. So it's the most important part of our business. The focus has been on establishing a strong strategic, structural, and operational position for the Hellman Group. Forward-looking projects that particularly include globally unified organizational structure, and all these initiatives were initiated after our global change in management in 2018. Towards the end of 2018, our global new CEO, Mr. Rainer Heiken, took over the reins globally. We have embarked on this global restructuring plan for organizational structure. We call it a Connect project within our company, and implementation of our digital strategy, which is digital offers, digital front end, and also transformation of our global operating systems and transportation management systems, whether it is in air freight, sea freight, or in road freight. So, and particularly, I must say, the timing-wise was excellent for implementation of our Microsoft 365. that really allowed us to to migrate our employees to home office environment overnight without much problems. And also, we have reorganized our global partner network where we don't have our own offices, which used to operate out of Miami. We moved them to Germany. We also put together a strategy, something we call it Fit for Growth strategy, that aim to generate a sustainable and healthy growth in all product segments and expand our market position and the network worldwide. Our focus on the growth markets, with the global expansion. For example, during the pandemic, we have expanded geographically into Oman, Egypt, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, by opening our own entities. And also in 2019, we have established a strong international executive board, which is driving the company and its strategies. So thanks to all these measures and the strong global team, we closed our 2020 in a positive note, despite all the decline in volumes. And our revenue was up by close to 5% to 2.5 billion euros. And with a very healthy and a strong EBIT margin close to 3%. So which is not a bad EBIT margin in our industry. And the positive trend, what we see this year as well, so far year to date, has been excellent. The key figures for the first quarter of 2021 and is growing significantly above the same period last year.
Indeed, that is very encouraging to note. So coming to India in particular, as India continues to reel under the second wave of the pandemic, what are the challenges that are faced by you in handling operations of the different segments of the company, like air freight, ocean freight, etc.? And I would also like to know which segments were the most affected.
Yes, I must say that the first wave of COVID-19 has obviously put us, like every other country, India also into an emergency situation to deal with the operations. And then I think the awareness how to deal with this pandemic was very limited. So it was a difficult period in the beginning. I must say that the team reacted quite well through an emergency response plan and also the emergency response team by taking quite a lot of measures, making sure the employee safety as a paramount, as a first priority, and also taking a lot of proactive measures to ensure the safety of the frontline workers involved in our operations. I thought that India in particular has managed the first wave quite well. I think all the central state governments, along with the people, have done an excellent job to manage the situation quite well, and which has been a big surprise to quite a lot of global community. Obviously, we all know the second wave has hit hard and harder, and there are areas which was unexpected and then could have been probably managed better. When it comes to our business, air freight, the dip in air cargo capacity, the international airlines had begun suspending flights to from India, and also the domestic routes also have new restrictions. Reduction of the belly space in passenger flights reduced domestically as well as internationally. So there's no improvements in the air freight rates. So reduction in flights from Middle East, of course, Middle Eastern carriers has a major capacity from the subcontinent, and the China have accelerated the rates and the space crisis. The airport operations have, are working on less productivity because of COVID-19 cases. And the production, especially in fashion and automotive industry and industrial, have slowed down, resulting in lower air freight volumes. So imports of consumer goods have slowed down due to the decline of the domestic demand. The customs operations have slowed down again due to COVID-19 situation. The imports have increased due to medical equipment and unfortunately for wrong reasons, but they are also for oxygen concentrators and other items. And the positive thing is the e-commerce activities have improved the domestic capacity and also that helped the airlines to have a better yield. But when it comes to ocean freight, there has been a huge inventory shortage all over India. It's not just in India. I think it's a global scenario, but particularly in South Asia. And if you look at the South India, there's a huge shortage of reefer inventory. There is congestions in most of the global ports and CFS, including in India, have increased the container turnaround by 2 to 5 weeks, resulting in equipment shortage. Carriers are cutting down on India's allocation. And on top of all this COVID-19, and we are in the middle of all this pandemic, we had the ripple effects of the impact of Suez Canal issue, which happened in May 2021. So on top of it, the blank sailings from whether it's IOS or IEX or Indomex services, the Far East loops, resulting in space shortage and an increase in freight. Also, the Europe to Asia and to US, the spot rate shot up sometimes up to $10,000 for a 40-foot equivalent unit towards the end. So no carrier accepting out of gauge cargo, which is impacting a lot of our project business, and availability of open tops or flat racks is a major challenge. So the list goes on. A lack of clearance and import of cargo in CFS and ports in India due to slow demand and operation leading to heavy congestion. So lack of truck drivers still a challenge. So there are stories going around that more than 40,000 trucks were stranded at some point around the country. And if you move into the other segment that we operate, there is the warehousing. Similar to other businesses, Indian warehousing segment has been reeling under the effect of COVID-19 crisis. So the cash flow disruptions and the unavailability of workers have indeed posed challenges. And the lockdown have actually curtailed the services of warehousing into all the essential areas. The transportation distribution volumes were only 20% and manpower reduced by 50% and restricted working hours to 4 hours a day. I mean, all this has a huge impact because our revenue is not just coming from fixed costs. Most of the revenue in warehousing is coming from transactional and variable pricing, which includes there's a high operational efficiency, and increased operations is very critical to make that business profitable. So I think that is definitely has been affected. And the positive part is that the e-commerce activities have kept some of the warehousing activities on a positive trend. And from all this, I wouldn't say everything is done doom and gloom. Our business in India is still doing very well, and I think we have managed to cope up with the situation quite well. And I think we've done an excellent result last year, and then we're continuing to the year to date doing excellent above planned budgets. But the positive impact also is that digitalization and sustainable transformation have accelerated. People, I think, have realized to work in more collaborative models. E-commerce have accelerated and then suddenly gone into higher levels. And the logistics that's involved is becoming a much more needed expertise in the market. And also that's getting accelerated very, very rapidly. And the airport and CFS ecosystem is looking for a more robust operation. So, there are positive effects which will have a very positive cascading impact as we move forward. But it's important that we have to prepare ourselves for such transformation in how we do business going forward.
Indeed. Thank you for walking us through all of those segments rather intricately. Indeed, like you said, the air freight, be it the aviation sector or the road transportation sector or the even the maritime industry, they've been through unprecedented challenges, but it's all about how you prepare for the road ahead. And like you mentioned, Mr. Madhav, if one of the segments that has risen to the fore amid the turmoil of the year, it has to be the e-commerce segment, which brings me to the next question. If you can throw some light on how the COVID-led e-commerce boom, COVID-driven boom in e-commerce segment, how has it increased the sector's reliance on air freight?
Yeah, so of course, we all know that overnight many companies were forced to go online, and even the buying behavior of the consumers have changed overnight, relying on e-commerce. So the delivery cycle was a key element which had to be enhanced, and in order to meet the consumer demand, cargoes need to be switched to air freight as per the consumption cycle, which took premium space of airline capacity, and then especially with commercial airlines as well as with integrators. So it has a very positive effect for the carriers in terms of better yield, and it has taken quite a lot of the capacity away from the carriers, which has already been reduced by the passenger flights cancellations. So, but I think airlines and the air freight industry in general have hugely benefited by the e-commerce boom, and it's continuing to happen.
Indeed. So after the positive indicators for the air cargo market in the first 4 months of the year, May 2021 data showed a less favorable trend as it registered a 4% drop in the global air cargo demand. What do you make of it, and how do you foresee the market in the months to come?
Yeah, so we have seen a massive lockdown in Europe, particularly that is the retail sectors and the shop closures, as well as the highest levels of COVID impact on such countries like India, impacted the retail industry, and both for imports and for exports. And global passenger cargo capacity dropped almost by 50%, where we have also seen a freighter capacity increase during continuing pandemic period. So with the vaccination drive across the globe, we are expecting in coming months, we see that our markets opening up, particularly Europe and the US opening up, which is a primary consuming market for some of these industries. We see that volumes will pick up, and there will be a catch-up process for the loss of sales so far.
Right. Also, with the outbreak of the pandemic, the supply chain visibility and real-time tracking became, it was of utmost importance, especially as we had to deal with life-saving drugs and vaccinations. Along similar lines, last year in November, Hellmann had launched its tracking tool, Smart Air. Can you share with us more details on the functioning of this new product range for shipment tracking, and how does it help in filling up the gaps of live tracking of transports?
Yeah, I'm not a technology guy. We have smarter people in the company than me to deal with it. But I think in general, our Smart Air tracking solutions capturing data through different data sources, providing a real-time shipment status report, ETA change report, as well as the carrier performance. It can support us in creating origin destination country, the port pair performance and transloading performance, and the live airline tracking, which is updated every 15 minutes with a real-time map overview. So this can be implemented for any product like the pharma shipments or high-value cargo or any other shipments which need to be tracked live. So, and it's working quite well for us. I can't hear you.
Sorry. Yes. So Hellmann Worldwide Logistics has been successfully walking the transformation path from being a transactional forwarder to a fully integrated solutions provider in the MENA and South Asia region. Which segments is the company tapping, and how has its motto of keeping innovation in the forefront helped the company in its journey? And what are the
So,
new innovations or projects in the pipeline? Just to put it all together.
yeah. So we as a company, we have, I would say I can only talk for the last over more than 10 years, when in 2008, we, during the global financial crisis, and of course, then there is all the real estate crisis, we looked at the industries, particularly in this region, the Middle East and the South Asia, the North Africa region. We looked at industry that is not affected by the crisis. And for example, automotive industry, which is car sales drops, from a layman's sense, their spare parts sales goes up. So when we looked at automotive industry at that time, we realized that there is a huge problem in the industry in the region, primarily because of most of the OEMs. They have their spare part stock in particular, for example, in Europe or Japan or in the US, and the lead time for the spare parts to reach here from order is sometimes varies from 4 to 6 months. So that means that the distributors or the dealers in the region, they have to maintain the stock for almost 6 months, which means they have to create infrastructure for it, the people, the systems, and on top of everything, the cash flow that gets stuck in the inventory is massive. And in general, I guess in this part of the world, in general, is logistics and the supply chain has been a bit of a neglected element in the whole business model. So the investment that has been made into system or technology or even the expertise has been very, very minimal. So when you have up to $500 million worth of stock sitting in your warehouse, and we don't have a proper inventory management system, and they don't have people with expertise, it affects the after-sales service of the OEMs. And so, for example, when you want to get your car repaired, and if you don't have the parts available, it takes a couple of weeks. You don't blame the local dealer. You say that the BMW after-sales service is bad, or Mercedes after-sales service is bad. So that brings down the value of the OEMs. And OEMs have realized it, and they wanted to keep closer to the market, the stock. So we created a solution for using Dubai as a hub for the region, and also for the aftermarket spare parts. And we became market leader in that segment by having many global OEMs using our services. And then another area which we looked at was healthcare. And in healthcare, in this region is particular is a very, during peak summer, it's really hot. As you know, it goes up to 50 degrees and above 50, and with high humidity. And certain products like life-saving drugs, which sometimes have a 6 months lead time to produce these products. And if it's sitting on the tarmac in the airport for 4 or 5 hours, the product completely gets spoiled. And then probably somebody needs that drug to save their lives, don't get that product. And the healthcare companies sometimes in the past has sold their products like a commodity without actually looking at the supply chain until it reaches the patient, the product integrity. So we created a validated cold chain to ensure the product integrity until it reaches the patient. And by working with the different stakeholders, the airport authorities, the port authorities, shipping lines, airlines, customs, Ministry of Health, and different regulatory authorities across the region to create that validated cold chain. That's something which we created again, and then which is one of first of its kind in this region. And by creating quite a lot of other value-added activities like the 2D printing, serialization, and few other value-added services, which is very, very unique. So that was something which was in the healthcare sector. We also created something in chemical, which is primarily depending on the infrastructure and the specialization needed in that industry. And if you say that, if, for example, in Sri Lanka, which is a huge fashion centric fashion producing country, there we have looked at the fashion supply chain, and then if you look at many of the brands that they're producing in that part of the world, not just in Sri Lanka, in around the South Asian countries, the product flies from those countries to US or Europe into a distribution center, and from there it gets customized for the markets, and it flies back to China, flies back to Australia, flies back to Middle East. So we have created a business model in Sri Lanka to help some of the global brands to serve their B2C operations directly from Sri Lanka, and without actually product goes to the Europe and then coming back. So geographically, the Asia, Middle East, Africa, and Australia can be directly served for the B2C segment from Sri Lanka directly. It doesn't have to go to the Europe or US and come back. So that's another very innovative venture we started in Sri Lanka as well. So there are quite a few things that we have done in the region, and there's some of the things which I mentioned so far. And the latest one is, of course, we have 2 years back. This is not just during the pandemic. 2 years back, we have invested into creating a very unique product in e-commerce to provide a complete solution in the e-commerce segment that includes warehousing, last mile, then order management systems, customer service, payment gateway, and then even web shop development and management of the web shop. So anyone who wants to go online, they can plug into an integrated model. And then we have invested into that product and creating that solution 2 years back. And sometimes luck favors you when you start doing things, without any specific project in mind. And then Dubai has, as always, been in the forefront of innovation, and then has been always in the forefront of doing things differently. So Dubai creating a Dubai e-commerce city next to Dubai airport to facilitate an ecosystem for e-commerce activities, or any startup or mid-sized companies to want to go online. They can straight away plug into that infrastructure. So we signed up an exclusive partnership deal to provide these services from Dubai Commerce City, along with our partner DHL Express. And so that's our latest project and that latest activity that's currently going on. And then we have gone live with that activity from 1st of April. And at the moment, it looks very exciting. And then we are engaged with many customers to start up the operations there.
Right. That is really impressive to note. In fact, the steps taken by your company and the innovations that you've done to fill up the supply chain gaps is indeed noteworthy. And I hope more companies emulate the motive and the purpose behind it. So I see a few audience questions that I would like to take. So there's a question by Mr. Anand Krishnan, if we can highlight it in the panel. Yes, so he has thanked you for your inputs. His question is, with the developments and your partnership with Dubai Commerce City and DHL Express, do you see the opportunities to include AI and machine learning technologies to improve efficiencies in the warehouse operations by Hellman, as DHL will be handling the last mile? Do you want to take the question?
Yeah, of course. I think all these technologies with artificial intelligence or machine learning is technologies which will have a impact in the operational efficiencies, particularly in the B2C warehouse. Yeah, at this point, we are in the process of setting up and then using our own in-house technology that we have, which has been used in Europe. particularly in use of in terms of warehouse management systems and other systems. But yeah, as a next step, I see definitely opportunities to look at the various technologies that will further enhance our operations.
Indeed, technology has definitely taken center stage amid the unprecedented times. Another question that I see by Mr. Parminder Singh. What is your advice for Indian-based companies exporting to the USA or Europe?
I don't know. I'm capable to advise the Indian companies. They're more than very well informed in India and everything. So yeah, obviously, in the current situation, there is a capacity constraints, whether it is particularly in the ocean freight, and so I would say that secure your space, taking some proactive strategic approach with your partners. If you are approaching on a transactional level, you will end up with probably paying much higher freight rates on a spot basis. So it can go either way, but I think it will be good to protect your cost, even if it is slightly higher. I would say protect your cost for a certain period, and then ensure capacities by making some commitments. That would be my advice.
Thank you. Another question by Mr. Tariq Ahmed. How has Hellman's wine logistics segment been impacted due to the pandemic and the subsequent lockdowns?
So I think during the lockdown, probably people drink more. Yeah. So
Right.
so and we have a global vertical for, we call it beverage logistics, and I don't have offhand the numbers. As far as I'm concerned, it is not affected that badly. So I think we're particularly doing wine from the wine producing countries like South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, UK, and some of the European countries, also some of the Latin American countries, US. So India is also becoming a wine producing country, and also I think started exporting it as well. So I haven't seen much affected by it, but I can particularly come to the Indian numbers. I haven't looked at the numbers closely in the recent past, but I don't have any large information on any large impact there.
And thank you for your response. So another question by Mr. Partha Sarthi Rangachari. Although you've touched upon it in one of our previous questions, would you like to answer his question, which is, can you please throw some light on new innovations or upcoming projects?
Yeah, so thank you. And yeah, I think I have already spoke about what are the new upcoming projects. Of course, we are, as we're expanding, we have expanded to Oman and Egypt. We are just implemented to new offices in Cairo, in Alexandria, in Port Sakna, in Sohar, in Muscat. All during the COVID, we have embarked on the e-commerce journey with the Dubai City during COVID, and we invested into a massive facility there. So that's happening. We are also in discussions to do a major joint venture in Saudi Arabia for healthcare, and that's going to be a major game changer in Saudi Arabia in the next couple of months. So and we are looking into the road freight product in this region, creating some niche specialized solution within the road segment. So there are quite a few things on the pipeline, but yeah, it's not so what is the right word? So the guys are busy. We are busy.
Okay, so there's a question by Mr. Athik Bari. Yes, thank you for the valuable information. He wants to know, is Hellman's tracking tool Smart Air pluggable with any of the existing logistics software? It's a technical question if you want to address it.
Yeah, I think I have to get back to our IT and our digital team. I think it is possible with my limited knowledge of technical side of it, but I think it's possible. But I think I will ask him to send us an email or contact our office in India or in Dubai. We are more than happy to assist.
Thank you for your answer. I believe we've almost reached the end of today's session, but before winding up, we have a lot of young supply chain professionals watching this session today. So, do you have any words of advice for them?
Okay. Yeah. So I came into this industry. I wouldn't say not 100% by choice. Yeah, I came. It was because I used to live in a port city in India, so I used to watch ships and everything ports. So I was interested in shipping in generally. So I moved. I joined the shipping industry. But if you particularly look in India, this is logistics and supply chain is not the most attractive industry the young people today look to join. Yeah, at least to my knowledge. It has always been IT or banking or finance or more flashy things. So, but I would say that country like India is the future is in supply chain, and with the complexity that is involved and the population and also the size of the country, it is a massive supply chain challenges. And also, if you really look at the India's logistics efficiency index, India is far below globally. Yeah, if you take global logistics efficiency index, Germany now ranks 1, and I think UAE and Dubai is like 5th or 6th position, and India goes all the way down, maybe below 50 or even lower than that. So it's a long way to improve the infrastructure, the expertise, and the technology and everything in that area. And then I see the next 20 years is a massive opportunity in that area in India. So also the pandemic has really shown what are the industries that is really critical in your life. Yeah, because when you are all sitting with the lockdown in your house, somebody has to deliver medicines at your doorstep or to the provision, the grocery or whatever. These are all the logistics is a physical process, and I think the pandemic has shown that it has a purpose. And then what is its contribution to the society? And it is clearly has earned its respect during this pandemic. And I see quite a lot of people getting attracted to this industry compared to the past. And you will see that much more higher caliber of resources coming into this industry, which will automatically improve the profile and efficiency of this business, particularly in India. So I would say people who are listening, if you have chosen this industry as your career or your areas of expertise, make sure that you dive deep into the details and also into the physical operational processes and the challenges. Don't sit in an office in front of the computer and then visualize things. The logistics industry, which you have to have touch and feel and see what are the physical challenges. That's when you will start enjoying it more. And but then I can see that I can ensure you that this industry has a huge potential, and I think you can have an excellent career in the coming years.
Indeed. Thank you so much for your wonderful insights. And I'm sure a lot of the young viewers will definitely benefit from the pearls of wisdom that you had to share. So with this, we come to the end of today's session. I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, Mr. Madhav, for taking out your valuable time to throw light on the industry and for this enriching session. We hope that the road ahead stands bright for the logistics and warehousing segment, and that the year 2021 will definitely augur well for the industry. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. And I'd also like to thank the audience for their questions and also for being a part of this session today. With this,
Thank
I
you.
would like to take my leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Basundhara. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.